Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. Enjoy! So we've just got to know some vocab. Faces are where you could lay your hand flat on a shape. Then you've got edges where you can run your finger along. And then vertices are the corners, the bits that you would stab into your finger. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the front, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 including the back ones. For us to create the largest number, we need to pick the biggest digits for the start of the number. So the biggest digit is 7, then 6, then 4, then 3. But the question says it wants the largest even number, so we need to just swap the last two around to make sure that it is even. So our answer is 7,634. So the key says that a circle represents 8 DVDs, and we're told that on Thursday there are 18 DVDs. So we need to rewrite 18 in kind of lots of 8. So that will be an 8 plus 8, which is 16, plus a 2. So we know it will be 2 full circles. So let's get those 2 full circles in. And that will represent 16. But how do we represent 2? Well, if you think about it, if we cut this up into quarters, each quarter will represent 2. So 2, 4, 6 and 8. So we just need another quarter. And so that would be 8 for the first one, 8 for the second one, and then this little quarter will represent 2, which altogether is 18. So we can write the factors of 6 by working out two numbers that multiply together to make 6. So 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. So 1, 2, 3 and 6 are all the factors of 6. The only number that is in our list is the 2. If I split this shape into 2 sets of 6 blocks, when we're asked to shade in 3/6, for each one of those, or each set of blocks, I'm going to shade in 3 of the 6. So that's 3 for the first set, and this is 3 for the second set. And that's our answer. Now you might notice that 3 over 6 is the same as a half, because we can divide on 1 by 3, and so all I need to do is shade in a half. Or you might convert 3 over 6 into 6 over 12, and there's 12 squares altogether, so it's 6 of the 12 squares. There's lots of ways of doing this question. If there were 39 people on the bus and 4 people got off the bus, that would leave 35 people remaining on the bus. So the fraction of people staying on the bus is 35 out of the 39 people on the bus. So our answer is, as a fraction, 35 over 39. We can't cancel that any further. I'm going to start just by writing down the number. And we're asked to round this to 3 significant figures. And basically what that means is, starting from the left-hand side, it's 3 numbers that we want. So 1, 2, 3. And we're going to do our line after that third number. And you start counting the first non-zero digit. So the first digit there was 2, so we started counting. Now all the numbers to the left, or sorry, to the right, so these numbers here, will all turn to 0. But before that happens, we look at this number. Now this number, if it's 5 or more, it moves this number up by 1. If it's less than 5, that number stays the same. Now it is 5 or more, because it is 5, so it's not going to be 207, it's going to be 208. Now, a common mistake is that students write down 208. No. All the numbers to the right of that line turn to 0. So it would be 0, 0, 0. So it would be 20,000 or 208,000 exactly. So we have a set of vertically opposite angles here and here. And we're going to start with those because we have to find out what m is before we can work out what x is. And vertically opposite angles are always equal, so we've got 13m plus 39 is going to equal 2m plus 149. And we're going to get our lines in there because we're going to solve this. And to solve this, we first of all take away the smaller amount of m, because we've got m's on both sides. We can't really cope with that when we're solving. And so we've got a 13m and a 2m. So we're going to remove the 2m. We're going to take that away from both sides to start off. And so we're left with 11m plus 39. And we've just got the 149 on the right hand side. Next we're going to remove the number. So take away 39 from both sides. And we've got 11m is equal to 110. And then we're going to divide both sides by 11 to find out what m is. So m therefore equals 10. So we know if m equals 10, we can then work out x. And the way we can do that is the fact that this one and this one are both on a straight line. So they are both on this straight line here. So we know that they've got to add up to 180. So let's write that down. 13m plus 39 plus x is equal to 180 degrees, or I don't normally put that in for the working out, I always put that in for the answer. So we can solve this, or well, first of all we know what m is, so it'd be 13 times n, which is 130, and then we can solve this. So let's get my solving lines in. And so that's going to be 169 plus x equals 180. And we're going to just take that away from both sides, the 169. So we've got x equals 11. So the value of x will be 11 degrees. To answer this question, we basically need to find the lowest common multiple of the 10 minutes here and the 15 minutes here. So we're going to start off just by doing the 10 and 15 times table. So it'd be 10, 20, 30, and 15 times table with 15 and 30. So the lowest common multiple is 30. So after half an hour, these buses will sync up. They'll both leave at the same time. And all buses start service at 9 o'clock. So it will be half an hour after 9 o'clock, which will be 9:30. So we have an original amount, and this represents 100% of the original amount. The new price, new amount, represents 113%, because it has said that it has gone up by 13%. So it has increased by 13%. And as a value, that increase is £1,287. So it's 13% of the original. It's gone up 13% of the original price. So what we're going to do is we're going to work out what 1% of the price increase is. Instead of 13%, we're going to work out what 1% is. And we're going to do that by dividing the amount by 13, and we get 99. So 1% represents £99. So 1% of the original represents £99. But the new amount is 113%. So we need to times the £99 by 113, which gives us £11,187. So the picture is now worth £11,187. So whenever we have a scatter graph, chances are we'll be drawing a line of best fit. And so that's what we'll start off with, draw a line of best fit in. And it says we're looking for a height of the box, or an estimate of the height of the box with the width of 17. So 17 is here. So the width of 17 will be a line across. Let's try and get this just right. Line across there. And what we do is we draw a line down when it hits the line of best fit. Now looking at the scale here, this seems to be going up in 2s, and so this line here would be at 3. To find out what the value of x is, we first of all have to find out what the value of y is. And we can notice that we've got two sets of parallel lines here, and a line going through them. And we kind of got these f angles, which we have to call corresponding angles. So we know that 2y minus 50 is equal to 78. And we must write down the reason. So corresponding angles. And corresponding angles are equal. Now here we've got an equation and we want to solve it. So we get our lines in. We go first of all add 50 to both sides. So we've got 2y equals 78 plus 50, which would be 128. And then we're going to halve both sides, or divide by 2. So we've got 64. So we know that y is 64. And so we look back at the diagram to find out how we'd work out x. Well, what we can do, there's a few different things we can do. We could work out the fact that these two here are vertically opposite. That would be absolutely fine. But actually, if we look at this part here and this part here, these are also two parallel lines, and we've got this angle here and this angle are going to be alternate. So I can write that down here. So angle ECB is equal to 78 degrees. So this will be 78 degrees. And the reason for that is alternate angles. And then finally, if we know this is 78 and we know that this is 64, because we know what y is, then we can work out what x is. So x equals 180, angles in a triangle, take away the 78 we know and the 64 we know. And the reason for that is angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. And just make sure you write down all the reasons as you go. And when we take away the 78 and the 64 from 180, you get 38. So x is therefore 38 degrees. The first thing to do when working out what angle things need to be on a pie chart is to add up the frequencies. So we're going to do 14 plus 7 plus 3, and we find out that that's 24. Then we're going to find the angle that one item would be. So one item is going to be, well, there are 360 degrees in a triangle, and there are 24 items. So we're going to do 360 divided by 24, and that gives us 15 degrees. So each item is worth 15 degrees, or will take up 15 degrees. So to find out the angle for red, well, we've got 14 items, times it by 15, and that will give us 210 degrees. And we're just going to times each of these by 15, which would be 105, and the final one times 15 is 45 degrees. Add them up and they add up to 360, which is good. They need to add up to 360. So we got our protractor, rest it on a pie chart. Now we know 180 is down here, so the first thing we're going to do is just mark that on, because the first angle is going to be 210. So we know that's 180 so far. So I'm going to turn my protractor around, and from 180, 210 will be another 30. So I'm just going to plot that on, and then I'm going to join it up. So start at the center and join that up, and we're going to stop when the circle stops. Then to do 105, we're going to put our protractor in the middle, and we're going to look at 105, which will be up here. And then we're just going to join it up with a straight line. And then we're just going to check the last angle. And so if I put my protractor on it, and it is 45 degrees. Perfect. Now, an important step to not miss is you need to label them. And so the first one is red, the second one is blue, and then the final one is other. To find the mean, we need to work out the sum of the numbers, basically what they add up to. And what we then do is divide that by the amount of numbers. Now, what this table is telling us is there are 14 students who got a time between 0 and 4 seconds. Now, it's absolutely impossible to work out what time those students got with the information in this table. So what we need to do is we need to assume they all got, say, 0 seconds or all got 4 seconds. And the fairest value to say that they all got is what we call the midpoint. And to find the midpoint, what you do is you add up the lower bound and the upper bound, so the highest value and the lowest value, add them together and divide by 2. So 0 plus 4 divided by 2, which is just 2. And that gives us a halfway number, which is fair to everyone. So the students roughly probably got 1s, 2s and 3s, and maybe a few 4s maybe. And the average of that is going to be 2, so that's fair for everyone. Same with the 4 and the 8. Halfway between 4 and 8 is 6, and you can add them together, 12 divided by 2, which is 6. Go down finding the midpoints, and we're just going to assume the students all scored the same amount, all got the same time. Then we're going to do our FS column, okay? And so we're assuming that 14 students got a time of 2 seconds, so when you times those together, you get 28. And we're just going to times all of these together. Okay, next we're going to work out the sum of the FS. And to work that out, we just add all of these up together. So we're going to do 28 plus 36 plus 30 plus 126 plus 36. And when you add them all up, you get 256. Now, that will give us the sum of numbers, so we're going to put that into our working out now. And we need to find out how many numbers there are. Well, the frequency column will tell us how many numbers there are, so we're just going to add all of those up together. So we're going to find the sum of the frequency, which is 14 plus 6 plus 3 plus 9 plus 2, which is 34. And when we do 256 divided by 34, we get 7.529 blah blah blah. It says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so we're going to round it to 7.53. So when you read this question, the question's basically asking you to find the bearing of O from B. So the lifeboat is at B, so I'm going to draw a north line here. And to find a bearing, you start from the north line and you keep going clockwise. So we're going to look for this angle here. Now, this angle, which is given to us in the question, and this angle here, which I'm just going to call x, are going to be equal. So x is going to equal 135 degrees. And the reason for that is we've basically got, and I'm just going to draw or extend the north line down, because we've basically got we have a set of parallel lines here, and we have a set of z angles, which we know is alternate angles. So the reason for that is it's alternate angles. And always show the reasons to the examiner. Okay, and so to find out what the bearing is, so the bearing of O from B, it's just going to be 360 take away 135, and the reason for that is angles on a point. We've run out of space. Okay, so we're going to do 360 take away 135, which is 225, and so our answer is 225. So the first thing we're going to do is work out the area of the trapezium. And the formula for that is half brackets a plus b times h. Now a and b have to be the parallel sides. So here we've got the two parallel sides here. Just pick a different colour. Here and here. So that is a and b. And then the h is the perpendicular distance between them. So perpendicular means it hits it at right angles, so that's what we've got here. So the area would be half times a, which is 28, plus b, which is 14, times the height, which is 14. And so that would be 294. Next we'll do the circle. Now it doesn't look like we've got anything for the circle, but actually the height here is actually the height of the circle as well. So the height of the circle is the same as the diameter. So the diameter of the circle is 14, therefore the radius would be half of that, which is 7, and the area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. So it would be pi times 7 squared, which will be 153.938 blah blah blah. Now keep that in my calculator, because next thing we'll do is the shaded area part, and it says we want to work out the area of the shaded region. So the area will be the total area, which will be the trapezium, take away the area that we don't want, which is this bit here, which will be the circle. So the trapezium's 294, the circle's 153.93 blah blah blah, and when you do that you get 140.061 blah blah blah. It says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so it would be 140.06. The first thing to notice is that the tree must be closer to CD than AB. So if we draw a line across the middle, it can't be in the top bit, because that would be closer to line AB. The second piece of information that is given to us is it must be at least 11 meters away from point C. So we get our compass out and measure 11 centimeters, or whatever the scale we're using in this diagram is. And we draw a quarter circle from C. And it says shade the region that it can be planted. So this is the region that represents closer to line CD than AB, but also not within 11 meters of point C. So for this question, what we need to do is factorise 4t plus 6. Now factorise means put it into brackets. So if I try, what I can do is I can actually put a 1 on the outside here. So 1 times 4t plus 6 is 4t plus 6, but the question clearly states that it is higher than 1. So we need to find another number that's higher than 1 to factorise this with. So if we look at 4t and 6, well, they're both in the 2 times table. So I can put a 2 on the outside here. 2 times 2t is 4t, and 2 times 3 is 6. So what we can do is we can just check that out with smiles and rainbows. Put all my times down there to remind me to times it. So 2 times 2t is 4t, 2 times 3 is 6. So that works because that is the same as this in the question. So we know that 2 times 2t plus 3 works. In fact, it's the only one that works with it being an integer. So we therefore know that the known side, because it says it's a known number, is 2. And the other side will be 2t plus 3. And then when you multiply them together, you get the area of 4t plus 6. So our answer, because it says the length is the known number, so that's the length, then we're finding the width, which is this one here. So it's 2t plus 3. So I'm going to start just by writing out the equation. And I could put my lines in. Okay, we're asked to make x the subject. So we're going to first of all add 10 to both sides. In fact, I'm just going to move all this over a little bit so I've got a bit more space. Okay, so we're left with m plus 10 on the left hand side, and we've got 1/7 x on the right hand side. Now to get rid of the 1/7, what I can do is just times both sides by 7. So 7 brackets m plus 10 equals x. So x therefore would equal 7 brackets m plus 10, but it says to expand your answer fully, so we're just going to expand the brackets. 7m plus 70. So we're going to start off with x equals 0, and we're going to write out this equation but with 0 every time it says x. So it's going to be y equals 0 squared minus 0 plus 10. Well, 0 squared is just 0, so 0 take away 0 is just 0, plus 10 is just going to be 10. So the answer there would be 10. Could do the same for 1. So it would be 1 squared minus 1 plus 10. Well, 1 squared is 1, 1 take away 1 is 0, plus 10 is 10. So that will also be 10. 2 squared minus 2 plus 10. 2 squared is 4, 4 take away 2 is 2, plus 10 will be 12. Now we're going to do the negative, so we're going to look at minus 1. So it's y equals minus 1 squared, and it's going to be minus 1 plus 10. So a little bit more complicated here. Minus 1 squared is just 1. Now here you have two negatives together. When you have two negatives together, it makes a plus. So we've got 1 plus 1 plus 10, which is going to be 12. And then we'll do the minus 2, so it'd be minus 2 squared minus 2 plus 10. So minus 2 squared is 4. The two minuses here make a plus, so it'd be plus 2, which would be 6, plus 10 will be 16. So we're going to plot these on our graph. And so we've got minus 2 is at 16, so that'll be there. Minus 1 is at 12, which should be here. 0 is at 10, 1 is at 10, and 2 is at 12. Okay, when you join this up, things to be aware of is you need to make sure that you have a round U at the bottom and not a flat bottom. Okay, so you want to avoid a flat bottom. You also want to make sure that you avoid feathering like that. You want just one nice smooth line, and my recommendation is always to turn the page on its side. I don't have that luxury, so I'm going to try my best with this, but you need to make sure it goes through all the points, and here's the part here where it goes beneath those 2 points, so make sure it goes beneath those 2 points. On most exams I see them, basically what they do is they draw a line across from those 2 points and say that the line needs to go beneath that, or your curve needs to go beneath that line. So they're looking out that you've gone beneath the line. The formula for an exterior angle for a regular polygon is 360 divided by the amount of sides. Now here we're given the fact that the exterior angle is 30, and we're looking for n, so we just need to rearrange the equation. We can times both sides by n. And then divide both sides by 30. And so we've got n equals 360 divided by 30. And when you do 360 divided by 30, we get the answer of 12. So it's a 12-sided shape. So we need to first of all work out the amount of machine minutes it takes to make a toy. And what we do is we multiply the amount of machines by the amount of minutes. So 5 times 40, which would be 200. So if we had one machine, it would take 200 minutes to create one toy. Here we're asked, well, okay, what if we wanted a toy every 8 minutes? So we get the 200 and we divide it by 8. And when we do that, we get 25. So if we had 25 machines, we would be able to make it every 8 minutes. And the logic here is 5 machines, so this is machines, and this is minutes, is 40. Then 8 minutes, if you think about it, we divide that by 5 to get to 8. And so if we divide the amount of minutes by 5, we actually times the amount of machines required by 5. So this is called an inverse relationship. So if one doubles, the other halves. If one divided by 5, the other will times by 5. So our answer here is 25 machines. We can't work out what x is straight away, but we can find this value here. And we know with Pythagoras we can find a third length if we've got other two in a right angled triangle. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And a and b were labelled. C is always opposite the right angle, so it'd be 49 squared plus b squared equals 68 squared. And 49 squared is 2,401. And 68 squared is 4,624. So we are solving here, so let's get our lines down. And we're going to start by subtracting the 2,401 from both sides. So we've got b squared equals 2,223. Then we're going to square root both sides, and we've got b equal to 47.148, blah blah blah. Okay, we're now looking at the second diagram, and this time we're going to have a, we've got our b, and we're going to call x the c. So it'd be a squared plus b squared equals c squared, but this time a is 39. B we are given as 47.148, we've just worked that out. And we're looking for c, in fact we can call it x now. Okay, so we need to square that. So we do 39 squared plus 47.148 squared, and that will be 3,744 equal to x squared, and we just get our lines in because we need to square root both sides, and we get 61.188 blah 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 is equal to x. It says it wants its two decimal places, so that will be 61.19. So this question says that Adrian, Ben and Charlie have some sweets, and the ratio of Adrian to Ben to Charlie is 9 to 6 to 13. But it also says that Charlie got 56 more sweets than Adrian. So there's 56 more sweets. Well, looking at the actual parts of the ratio, there are 4 more parts. So plus 4 parts, which represent plus 56 sweets. So the 4 extra parts are worth 56 sweets. So 4 parts are worth 56 sweets. So 1 part would be 56 divided by 4, which is 14 sweets. So all we need to do now is work out how many parts there are. Well, there are 9 plus 6 plus 13 parts, which is 28. And each part is worth 14 sweets. So the total number of sweets will be 28 times 14. So 28 times 14 is 392. So the distance initially travelled is going to be 14 kilometres for this stint here. And then we have a bit of a rest. A horizontal and distance time graph is essentially stopped. But then here we start up again to go home. And so that's another 14 kilometres travelled. So in total there has been 28 kilometres travelled. So the only way of answering this question is to work out what these are as ordinary numbers. And so 7 times 10 to the power of 7 would be 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 9 times 10 to the power of 4 would be 90,000. So that would be 9, 0, 0, 0, 0. And so we're just subtracting them like that. And so we'll get 6, 9, 9, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. And obviously if this is on the calculator paper, just type it into your calculator. There are no tricks here. You can't do anything with the 7 and the 9. You're not subtracting powers or anything. You're just literally typing in what it says. And there's a button on the calculator like that that you will need to use. So if you don't know what that is, ask your teacher or ask someone to help you out with that. So we're going to first of all convert the 11 litres into millilitres. So we're going to do 11 times 1,000, which would be 11,000. Okay, so we're going to just draw a line, like a number line. And we're going to have the 11,000 in the middle. Now, what would be the next one down if we're looking at to the nearest 10 mil? So we're going to add a 10 mil on, which will be 11,010, and we're going to take the 10 mil away. So 11,000 take away 10 mil will be 10, 990. Now when we're looking at limits with the upper and lower part of it, we are looking at halfway points. So halfway here and halfway here. So this halfway point will be 10,995, and the next one will be 11,005, and that's the halfway points. And so that is going to be our upper and lower bound. And we just need to say that V can be anything above the 10,995 and including that, and it can be anything below 11,005, but it can't include that, because if it was 11,005, it would have rounded up to 11,010. There's a lot going on with this question, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in all of the time signs that we don't normally show. So we've got 10 times 12x times y to the power of 4 times 13 times x to the power of 4 times y to the power of 4. And I'm going to reorder these to put the numbers together, first of all. And with multiplying, it doesn't matter which way around you do it, so I'm not changing anything. I'm going to put the x's together. And I'm going to put the y's together. So, first thing to do is 9 times 13, which is just 117. Then we've got x to the power of 12 times x to the power of 4. Now we know when we multiply two powers of the same base, and the base is x on both of those, we just add the powers. So it's 12 plus 4, which is 16. So it'll be x to the power of 16. And then y to the power of 4 times y to the power of 4, we just add them together, so it's y to the power of 8. First thing we need to do is work out the volume of this prism, and it's a trapezium based prism. So the volume will be the area of the cross section, or area of the trapezium, times the length, how 3D the prism is. So trapezium is half a plus b h, and then times the length. Now A and B are the two parallel sides, which will be this one and this one. And then the H is the perpendicular line that hits both of them at 90 degrees, which is what perpendicular means, between the bases. So this will be the 25 meters here. So it's going to be half, and then we're going to add 1 and 5, times that by 25. The length is how 3D it is, so it would be that 10 there. So we're going to times that by 10, and that will give us 750. So it's 750 meters cubed. Now, there is a little formula we can make for the rate. So the rate of anything, for this, will be the volume gained over time. Now, with this question though, we're interested in the time it will take. It says how long will it take. So we're actually looking at the time. So it will be time equals the volume, which is 750, over the rate, which is 15. So 750 divided by 15 is 50. So it will take 50, and let's have a look. It says per minute. So it would be 50 minutes. So we're going to start off with 100%, and it says that the card depreciates. That means goes down by, so it goes down by 1.7% every year. So we do 100 take away 1.7, which is 98.3, and that's percent. And we want that as a decimal, or as a multiplier we call it. And so we just divide it by 100 to make it into a decimal, 0.983. And that's our multiplier. And the beautiful thing about a multiplier is we just need the amount of years. Well, it says from 1980 to 1985. So that's going to be 5 years. So it's going to be 5 years. And so what we do is we get the original amount, which was 2,245, and times it by the multiplier 5 times. Now I can't be bothered on my calculator to times it by 0.983 5 times. So what you can do is you can do it to the power of 5, which basically means the same thing. And that gives us 2060.553. And when we round that, that would be £2,060 and 55 pence. So there are 2 outcomes that it will rain once in the next 2 days, and that will be rain and not rain, and not rain and rain. So to work out the probability, it will rain on Monday and then not rain on Tuesday. What you're going to do is just multiply 6 over 20 by the 2 over 7. So 6 over 20 times 2 over 7. And that will give us 12 over 140. And to work out the probability, it will not rain on Monday and rain on the Tuesday. We're just going to multiply the 14 over 20 by the 5 over 7. And so that would be 14 over 20 times 5 over 7. And that will give us, was it 70 over 140? Now we're looking for the probability it will rain and not rain, or not rain and rain. The word or in probability means add, so we're going to get that 12 over 140 and add it to the 70 over 140, and that will give us 82 over 140, and then we can cancel that down to 41 over 70. It doesn't look like it, but we actually have a quadratic here, and the reason it doesn't look like it is because we don't have an x term, but as long as we have an x squared term and a number term, we definitely have a quadratic. And notice something about this second number. It's a negative version of a square number, and that will always be the case because this question is using something called difference of 2 squareds. And it's very, very simple to work out. What you do is you put down 2 sets of brackets, and you square root the first term, well that's just going to be x, and you put the positive and negative versions of the square root. So we're going to square root 121, which is 11, so we're going to put plus 11 and minus 11, and that's it. Now when we expand that, and we'll just go quickly expand that now to have a look, it's going to be x squared plus 11x minus 11x minus 121, and notice that the 2x terms cancel each other out, which is why we don't have the x terms. I'm going to first of all draw the 2 triangles out separately. And we've got A, B, C, and then A, D, E. And the first thing to notice is we have similar triangles here, and the way we know that is that we've got an F angle here, which means they're corresponding on the 2 parallel sides, so these 2 angles are the same. We've got exactly the same thing on this side, we've got F angles, So these two are corresponding. And then the top angle is shared between the two triangles. And when you've got two triangles with exactly the same angles, they are going to be similar, which means one's an enlargement of the other. I'm just going to put on the length that we've got. Now we're looking for quite a complicated one. We're looking for the length CE, which is this one here. Now I can't actually label that onto my two triangles, but what I do know is that CE is equal to AE minus AC. Now we know what AE is, which is 60. So we just need to find out what AC is, this one here. And when we find out what AC is, we can just take them away to work out what the CE is. So we need two corresponding lengths that we know both of them. So we've got the 9 and 36 here. Because these two triangles are similar, we know that we can work out what the scale factor is. And to work out the scale factor, you do big divided by small. So 36 divided by 9. And we work out that that is going to be 4. So we know we're going to have a scale factor of 4. So to get from the smaller triangle to the big one, we times it by 4. But here we have the one, we need to find out what this one is. So one corresponding is this one. We're going from the big to the small. And so to work out from the big to the small, we've got to divide it by the scale factor. So divide it by 4. So 60 divided by 4 is 15. So we know what this one is. So AC is 15. And so we're going to do AE, which is 60. Take away the 15. And that will tell us what CE is, which is 45. So our answer is 45. So here we've got a right angle triangle and we've got two lengths and an angle involved, so it's going to be trigonometry that we're going to be using. And the first step of trigonometry is label the sides. So the one opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse, opposite the marked angle is the opposite, and the one between the right angle and the marked angle is the adjacent. So here we're going to cross out the hypotenuse because it doesn't have a number or a letter next to it, so we're not using it in this question. Next thing we're going to do is write out our triangles, our SOHCAHTOA triangles. So we're going to have SO, actually I normally put this in purple, so why not? SO, CA, and TOA. And we cross out the H, so it's not going to be SO, and it's not going to be CA, so it's a TOA question. And TOA is short for tan x equals opposite over adjacent. And our angle is actually x, so when we substitute in the values, it's going to be tan x equals, and the opposite is 6.3, and the adjacent is 3.2. And we're going to put our solving lines in. We're going to get x on its own, and to do that, we're going to do the opposite of tan both sides, which is called the inverse tan. We're going to do the inverse tan both sides, and to do that, what you do is you press shift or second function tan on your calculator. And then we get x equals, so the inverse tan 6.3 over 3.2, which is going to be 63.072, blah, blah, blah. And to two decimal places, it will be 63.07. There are two shapes we need to find the volume of. There's this cylinder here and this hemisphere here. So we might as well start with this cylinder. And the formula for the volume is pi times r squared times height. So it's the radius is 9, so 9 squared times the height, which is 30. And when we work that out, we get 7,634.070, blah, blah, blah. Next is the hemisphere. To find the volume of the hemisphere, well, the volume of a sphere is 4/3 times pi times r cubed, but because it's a hemisphere, we just times that by a half. So it's half times 4/3 times pi times r, which is the radius, which is 9 cubed, and that gives us 1,526.814, blah, blah, blah. And so the total volume is 7,634.070, blah, 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 plus the 1,526.814, blah, 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 which equals 9,160.884, blah blah blah. It says it wants it 2 decimal places, so when we round that we get 9,160.88. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.